On this episode of The Journey, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone a little bit, and we're going to learn about something that absolutely drives me crazy, and that is coyotes. We are going to Pennsylvania, and we're going coyote hunting, and that means we're going to do it on purpose, not having our dogs trashing. So we put out a questionnaire here a couple months ago, and Brett rolled out and said, hey, you know, X, Y, and Z, and we got to talking back and forth. So today, we're going to have Brett Hilliard on from Western PA. And Brett and I have talked through text messages and, you know, kind of learn a little bit about each other. And the funny thing about Pennsylvania is, and especially you guys that live there, you know this, a lot of the surrounding states don't. But really the only thing that you can hunt with hounds is coon, bobcats in certain area, and then coyotes. You can't run big game, and Pennsylvania's eat up with bear. We know that. We all know that. But anyway, that's kind of the background as how we ended up doing this podcast. So, Brett, how is everything in Pennsylvania this evening?
Oh, it's a snowy night tonight, and we're loving seeing that for the hunting. It's been a slow winter for the snow up here, and so we're happy to see it.
So, how long can you guys run your coyotes? Like for us, you can run them year round if it's on private property, and if there's a hunting season on national forest, you can run them on national forest. How does that work with you guys?
That's the same way it is with us. We can run them year round, no problem. The only Pennsylvania has a law that on Sundays, you're supposed to have written permission on Sundays to train or run your dogs. But other than that, you can run them year round.
Gotcha.
Coyotes.
Nice. Yeah, good. Yeah, like, you know, I can't stand, I mean, it's so hard for me. It's hard for me to break my dogs off coyotes because either you have to have snow on or you have to see them. And as you and I have talked, you know, that's one of the things that intrigues you about the coyotes. They're so smart. Like, you don't see those scoundrels very much here. I mean, yeah, you'll see one, you know, you'll see one here and there, but it's not something that you see on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and probably not even on a monthly basis. They're so skittish.
Yeah, that's for sure. We drive the snowy roads, you know, looking for tracks, and there's days you'll look for hours before finding the track. I mean, they don't, you know, and then seeing them in the daytime here in Pennsylvania is pretty rare. I mean, pretty rare to see them.
Yeah, I know when I was up at the Great American Outdoor Show, I had numerous guys come to the booth at GoWild, and, you know, they were talking, and most of the guys that I talked to, of course we were in Pennsylvania, so it all kinds of fits together, most of those guys were coyote hunters. And I cannot remember where the big hunt was, but most of them guys were talking about this hunt. And you can use dogs, you can, you know, predator call them, you can do whatever. You know which one I'm talking about?
It has to be Mosquito Creek.
Yep,
is that
that's it? Yep, Mosquito. I knew it was Creek, but I couldn't remember the first name. Yes, Mosquito Creek. And, I mean, these guys were excited. They were pumped. And I think that was the next weekend that that was happening. All those guys, they were looking at our Cajun lights that we had and was looking at those. Even the night hunters without dogs were looking at the lights. So that was something that was interesting to me. And I did talk to a lot of those guys. And like I said, I'm just not familiar with your guys' world, and I want to learn. So that's why we've got you on. And I'm really thrilled to learn today about what you've got to teach. Mm-hmm. So Brett, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, and we'll just kind of roll from there.
There ain't a whole lot to me. We're from Western Pennsylvania, and we haul logs for a living. That's a pretty booming business in this part of Western Pennsylvania. But basically all I do really is haul logs, chase coyotes, and that's really about it, honestly. A little bit in the summer I ride my motorcycle, but work's so busy in the summer. Basically all we really do is haul logs and chase coyotes mainly.
Yeah. And how much do you think you hunt? Do you hunt 100 days a year, 150, 200? What do you think you get in?
Honestly, I'd never counted, but it'd probably be pretty disgusting. I mean, in the winter, like from the end of deer season till turkey season, we're probably out at least 3 days a week, usually 4 or 5 days a week, if work permits. If I can get away, it's quite a bit.
Yeah. And I guess running the logging business, if the weather's bad or snowing or stuff, that gives you a day off. Is that correct?
Actually, the colder it is, the better it is. But this winter has been so muddy,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the winter
Yeah.
is muddy, so I can sneak away. I have 2 other trucks and drivers, so I can sneak away pretty good. I haven't been able to sneak away as much lately as I'd like to, but yeah, it's in the summertime. It's pretty dang busy, but I still try to get out a day a week in the summertime. Try to keep the dogs in shape, but it gets so hot in the middle of the summer. I usually don't go out too much, when it's really hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I can see that. So tell the listeners a little bit, like, what is it that drives you to hunt coyotes? I know you had told me before, but what is it that really makes you want to pursue these animals?
Oh man, when I was young, they just intrigued me. I tried calling them. I went and bought the call and the spotlights and stuff, and I just never really worked out too good. And then I'm like, oh, I'll trap them, So I went and spent all kinds of money on traps and all the tools and all the scents and everything, and it didn't really work either. And my buddy was running coyotes. He didn't have his own dogs yet, but he told me, he's like, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. And I've heard of it before. And he finally took me one day. And the first day I went, I shot a coyote. And I'm like, this is the way to do it. This is the total way to do it. And ever since then, I've been hooked. I mean, when I was young, I hunted deer like an archery season every day. And now I literally sold my bow and everything. I don't even bow hunt anymore. The only thing I care to hunt anymore is coyotes and bear. That's it. And it's just, I just think they're the smartest animal in the woods. They just drive me nuts.
Yeah. When I started running hounds back in the early 90s, I was an avid bow hunter. Bow hunting and spring turkey were absolutely my 2 favorite things to do. And when I started competition hunting, I realized that I couldn't lay out all night chasing dogs and get up, because I'm a morning person. Like, mornings is when I really like to hunt, and I just couldn't do it. So I did the same thing. I give it up and just started concentrating on the hounds, and it just went from there. So tell us your background with dogs. When did you have dogs? What started you into dogs? What drove you? And I know you just said that, your buddy took you out with dogs and you were able to catch one. But what lit that fire under you for the hounds?
When I was young, at the time he was kind of my uncle through marriage, and his name's Ronnie Cumberland. A lot of people would know that name. He has outstanding English coon hounds, and he would take me, when I was little. I'm talking 3rd and 4th grade, and I remember there was nights we get home at 2 and 3 in the morning, and my dad would just be jacked, and his coon hounds were just extraordinary. And I just thought, at that time when you're young, I just assumed that everybody's coon dogs were like that. They were just all, they were just that good. You went out every night and got all kinds of coons treed. And then as life went on, same thing. Went out with some rabbit guys with beagles, and they had some really good beagles. And I just assumed that that's just how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted a coon hound when I was young. And my dad was like, no, not happening. He wasn't really a dog guy anyway, especially hunting dogs. He didn't like them. And so I had in my head, I'm like, someday when I move out, get my place, I'm going to have a dog. And I didn't know what it was going to be. Like, the coyote dogs weren't even in my head yet, because I didn't even know about it. But I said, it's either going to be a coon dog, rabbit dog, something. And it wasn't even the hounds. I mean, even a friend of mine had a good bird dog, and I would take it out on my own, after school and stuff. And I just loved it. It was just kind of anything to hunt with a dog. I just loved it. And I just assumed, like I said, I thought they were all good. And I got out, went hunting, and I got, like I said, the first day I went, I'm like, I got to get a dog. And I got a dog. And I found out pretty quick that not every dog is a great dog pretty fast. And there's more to it than what you see.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, a lot of boot leather, and a lot of knowledge. And sometimes because I'm one of those people, man, I just kind of lucked into a really good dog out of the gate, and kind of set the bar high for me for my hound experience. That's for sure.
Yeah, when I got started, when I got my first dog, he was a young dog, and the guys that I started with, they didn't want to give too much knowledge up, I guess, you know what I mean? And so that made it tough, and he didn't work out, and I rehomed him to just a house dog, and met some other people during through the time. I bought he was about 3 years old, and I still have him today, and he wasn't completely finished, but he taught me more than any person or I could have taught myself. I mean, he taught me, a lot. He showed me what a good dog is, and he got into him, he got finished off. I mean, he taught me more than anything. And, I got lucky with him. I mean, very lucky.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been running hounds on coyotes?
I'm going to say either end of 17 or beginning of 18. I'm going to say when I got my first one is when I got into it. But I was as green as grass. I mean, when I started, I couldn't tell you the difference between a fox track and a coyote track. I mean, I was green as grass, literally.
And so tell us about that experience. Tell us, kind of tell us how you got started and, what, how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, I just, a lot of it was self-taught as far as like the tracks and, where the coyotes hang out. I found out pretty fast, they hang out in the same spots, but I met a good friend of mine, I hunt with him a lot. His name's Earl Schweitzer. He taught me a ton about dogs and tracks and, things about that and how to find them and how not to make, dumb mistakes when you're running, jamming the dogs in the road or anything like that. And then after him, I met another great friend, Butch Cusson, and he taught me anything about coyotes. I mean, he can look at a track and tell you if a coyote has a bum leg. I mean, he taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for them guys. And not just them. I mean, a lot of people taught me a lot too, but them guys taught me everything. And I'm not going to act like I know a lot, but every time we go out, I learn something else about the dogs or the coyotes or something. But them guys taught me a ton. I mean, I owed a lot of my knowledge to them. And like I said, the dog that I got, he taught me. Between them two and that dog, I owe it all to them. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be too good at it to this day.
So talk to me about what you just said about the bumping at the road. Talk to me a little bit about that and explain what you're talking about.
Let's say you got a coyote coming towards the road, trail road. Everybody wants to race up there, to see the coyote, shoot the coyote, whatever, if they're on a trail. And coyotes are smart. If they wind you or see you, they'll spin right around. They'll do a 180 and run right back into the dogs or around the dogs. And that is very tough for them dogs to pick up on. And it makes a big loss for the dogs. And, I mean, they could lose literally minutes, on that coyote by doing that. So, at first I didn't know that. I just, you see the arrow on the Garmin, 200 yards, I'll get up there. And then it gets to the road and the coyote's not there. The dog has a big loss and you don't even know what happened. Oh, it just disappeared in thin air. Well, it just didn't disappear in thin air. You turned the coyote and they went back, is what happened. And I even try, if the dog's safe, I even try staying out of the dog's way on the road. When they see the vehicle, sometimes they kind of, come to you, but sometimes you can mess them up. I just try giving them as much room as possible, as humanly possible. Just give them as much room safely to let them get across on their own. But yeah, that's I call it jamming. A lot of guys call it, but I call it jamming the coyote. You jam it right back into the dog. And when there's snow and somebody jams a coyote, it's not horrible. You can get in there and get on the track and there's good enough dogs that'll pick it right back up. But sometimes you have to help them a little bit. And when it's dry ground, it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. But we got pretty good dogs that they'll pick it up pretty fast. When they see the scent's not across the road or in the ditch, they'll usually go right back. Usually. So
let me ask you something, because that brings up a very good question that I have. Like I said, I probably run a handful of coyotes a year. And when I say a handful, I mean, if I have 5 races, to me, that's a lot. There have been years that it's been more than that, and there have been years that it's been less than that. But so I've been bear hunting long enough that I feel like I know how a bear travels, what he's doing. And when we get to those road crossings and stuff, I feel like I understand what's going on and what's going to happen. Now, several of those races, which I feel like my dogs or our dogs were running in yotes. One thing that I want to ask is water. Like we hunt along a creek, and when I say a creek, I mean it's a pretty good creek. And I have noticed that a lot of time, like a bear will come across it, like no problems, boom, it's in it. You just hang back, he's gonna pop up in the road here in just a second. But there have been several races that we don't see the bear. We get, and like you said, everybody gets up and jams up on where the dogs are going to cross. We never see it. The dogs get to the creek because the road's right beside the creek, and they end up paralleling the creek and then going back over the mountain, or something happens and they never come across. Typically, when the bear starts coming off of the mountain and he gets to that point, he's going to come across the creek. So water. Talk to me about water. Is that something the coyote tries to stay out of, or do they care?
It depends. If you have just slower dogs, just regular speed dogs behind them, they'll cross creeks like nothing, but like, a decent sized body of water, no, they usually won't. They have no urge to swim. I guess that's the point. If they have to swim, no. But if you got some fast dogs and you're putting pressure on that coyote, yeah, they will 100% swim. But you got to be pressuring them pretty good to make them swim. Now, they just got to get their feet wet or their chest wet. They're fine. But when they got to swim, you got to be driving them pretty hard to make them swim.
And so back to the whatever it is we're running, because we never see it, so I don't know. My educated guess is a coyote. So you're saying if I'm up like I am with the bear trying to wait till he crosses, the coyote's going to win me or hear the vehicle or something, and he's going to turn and he's not going to come across where I'm at?
100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's coyotes out there that they have it set in their mind. They're going to cross. They don't care if there's 100 trucks sitting there. I have seen that. But if they're smart enough and they're not have it set in their mind, yeah, if they hear you, the wind's blowing, if they have the wind, they're not coming across that road. I can about guarantee it. I've seen them hit the road, see somebody, and go right back. They didn't even finish crossing. I mean, they're but when I have seen them, when they have it set in their mind, they're crossing. Or like I said, you got some dogs that are really driving it, they will. I've seen them cross. It didn't matter who was sitting there. They would cross right in front of the pickup. I have a video, one that ran clear down the road to me. I had on video. He came right beside the pickup and jumped up in the brush beside my door. I mean, he had it in his head that he was coming down the road, and that's what he did.
And were the dogs like putting pressure on him, or were they back off of him a little bit?
They were definitely pressuring him. That's when they get get stupid.
Yeah,
guys don't make stupid mistakes, but when they get stupid is when they're getting pushed. And they're really getting bored.
Yeah, I can see that, and like I said, I can actually visually picture some of the things that you're talking to me about. Like one of the things that I've noticed with coyote races here, and I mean it may be different, so that's why I'm throwing this out there. Like if my dogs start doing a lot of zigzagging and back and forth and circling, that's normally not a bear. A bear will circle, but it's usually a little bit bigger circle. And if you're running a sow with cubs, she may make a tighter circle. But when you start getting a bunch of zigzagging and just off the wall tracks on your Garmin, it's fairly easy for me to say that's not right. Now, what's not right is it's not a bear for me. So what's your take on that? How do those things act when y'all are running them?
I mean, they're usually like a big rabbit. When they get to where they're comfortable, I think to where they live at, they'll circle just like a big rabbit. Sometimes they'll make a 200-yard circle. Sometimes they'll make a 100-yard circle. Sometimes they'll make a mile circle. But usually they will be back. Like, if you get in there and you bust it out of there, you give it time, usually it'll come right back. But I have seen them just run, line right out. But like I said, usually when they get somewhere, in my opinion, I think you're catching them where they don't live, is my opinion, is when they line. Because it always happens. You'll line out, and then they'll get somewhere and start circling, just like a big rabbit. That's my theory. But they usually, they circle fairly fast. Some of them don't, but they usually will eventually, circle. And I've heard of guys that'll stand right where they jump the coyote, and it might take 10 minutes or it might take 3 hours, but they'll stand there and stay in that exact spot and they'll kill the coyote eventually, right where they jump the coyote.
So I guess we should back up. What kind of terrain are you hunting? Like, I don't know if you've been down 81, but we're in a mountainous area. We're in the Appalachians, and elevation, our highest point's like 5,200 feet. Most of our hunting is around 3,000 to 4,000 is where we're at. The north parts of the mountain are steep. The souths are sloped. We've got a lot of timber cuts and cutovers, and then laurel thickets, stuff like that. The open timber is down off the mountain in the flat ground, is what we call it. So what kind was that the same type of area you're hunting, or are you hunting a different?
No, we don't have near mountains like that. I mean, we have hills and stuff, but basically here you can walk in any direction you want without much trouble. I mean, don't get me wrong, like we have, like basically here it's just a bunch of rolling hills. Like we don't have great big mountains and stuff like you guys. I've traveled through there. We don't have that. We've traveled to places like we have been to New Hampshire and other places that are like that. Mm-hmm. But here it's kind of just like, it's just constant rolling ground. It's not flat, it's rolling ground, and there is hills and valleys and things like that, but you can walk pretty much wherever you want, basically.
Right.
Much trouble.
Right. I got you. So go back, walk us through the process of where, you got dogs and you're on your first couple hunts. What was that like?
Oh man, I was just constant running, not knowing how to, well, first, if we were lucky enough to find the right thing and, get on them, that was step number one. And then we got rolling. It was basically just running my poor dog in the dirt all day, because we didn't know how to get the dang thing killed. And, it was a lot of running until I figured out how to get it done. But he's going to be 8 this summer, and I bet I'll say he's got a million miles on him. But he don't have to get run that hard anymore. But it's definitely a learning, as is everything. But it's a learning process, and it was tough. I mean, tough, and I'm always eager to learn. Even now, I'm eager to learn everything. So I feel like I was able to learn pretty fast. I wasn't stuck in my ways at all. If somebody had anything to offer me, and any kind of information, I took it. I mean, whether it was probably right or wrong, I probably should have took all of it, but I took it all into account in my head. And, every little thing helped. And I think we came a long way pretty fast, in my opinion. And I can't, it wasn't on my own. I know that for sure.
So how long was it before you were able to take your dogs and go out and consistently catch game?
I'm gonna say probably a solid, probably 2 years before it was, steady, confidently. Like I could confidently go out today and have a chase. Not always have it. Even days we still get skunked now, but I can pretty much, go out and get a chase, probably a year and a half, 2 years is what it took, I would say, and I went through a lot, I bought a lot of dogs, and not all of them, only 2 of them worked out that I actually bought. And I figured out pretty quick puppies was the way to go if you wanted to make what you wanted. And, it took a while, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't catch a whole lot of coyotes. We gun most of ours. We don't catch a whole lot of them. A fair amount, but not. We gun most of ours around here with our style dogs. I'll say that.
Right. So let's talk about that. What kind of dog? I mean, you're running straight running dogs, or you wouldn't have a need for a treeing dog in yours?
No, we don't. We're running all running dogs, some July mixed in there, some Krogan blood, stuff like that. But they're all running dogs that we have. And like I said, a lot of the blood comes from a guy I meshed for, Earl. Probably my best dog I got, Witch, my female. I got her as a puppy from him, and he didn't even want to sell her to me when she was a puppy. I was supposed to get out of a different litter, and he did. And I got some other good blood puppies out of some other stuff, and they're doing exceptional in most people's eyes. But they're all, like I said, they're all running dogs, just different. A lot of different colors in my yard, that's for sure.
So, where do you go to get So where does y'all's? You said your buddy has the line that you're hunting.
Yeah, he both my friends, they have both of what I run. Earl is the first. Earl Schweitzer, he's where I got the first puppy from, and that one is she's exceptional. And Butch, I had the dog that I bought at 2 or 3 years old, also was out of his breeding, and it's pretty much what we have stuck to. Some out crosses and stuff, but that breeding there between them two guys, it's in my opinion exceptional. They have plenty of nose. Most of them have plenty of speed, a lot of track control. You definitely need that around here. A lot of track control and jumping nose. I don't have a whole lot of want or need for just a running dog that don't have a whole lot of nose. I like something that can get in there and get one rolling. We have a lot of times, they'll trail for miles. Not all the time. Sometimes they'll jump within 800 or 1,000 yards, but we do have times where they trail for a long time. So you need a good nose around here for sure.
So how long of a track? So when you say they got a trail, so how old is that track? If you guys are trailing that track for how old a track do you guys you want your dogs to be able to take, 6 hour, 8 hour, 12 hour, 14? What is your guys your standard that you guys go by?
I'm going to say our average is probably, I'm going to say between 6 to 8 hours, probably. Some definitely fresher and some older. We can help our dogs a lot around here. We have a lot of blocks around here. So say you have a track going into somewhere, you guys may do the same thing. I'm not sure. You go all the way around the block to make sure the coyote didn't come out of there. Do you guys do that too with the bear if you have snow?
Yeah, if in certain areas, if we have the availability, but I mean, I don't know how your blocks are sectioned up. Is it like mile by mile or?
Yeah, a lot of them are probably a couple miles by a few miles, something like that. There's some smaller ones and a lot of bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
if there's roads all the way around it, I mean, I'm not saying, if it takes you, if it's a 15-mile square, but if you can do it in a good amount of time, we always check the squares to make sure the coyote's still in there. And if it comes out, we go to the next square. If it comes out of there, we go around that square. So, we try to make sure when we're putting on a track that the coyote's in there, but we do miss them. I mean, we've missed them in the deer trails and things like that, but sometimes they have to get it across the road, but we try our best to get them on, get them in the right square anyways. But like I said, we do miss them, but I'd say the average is 6 to 8 hours if I had to guess.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the running dogs. Cause so I have 3, Kemp dogs come from Mike Kemp, and they're 3/4 walker, tree and walker, quarter, running dog. Or I could be, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it's 3/4 running dog, quarter walker. Yeah, that's what it is. 3/4 running dog, quarter tree and walker. I really like what I have with those dogs. They don't come out of the gate, just blowing the top out of the tree. And I'm a big, I'm kind of old fashioned when it comes to this. I want my dogs, they got to be able to trail it and jump it and run it down and catch it before they can tree it. So I don't get too excited about that, but it's a different. I've never had. Well, let me take that back. I did have a dog with some July in it, and one time I had a dog with some trig in it. But now he was bigger, built up in the front end, wider chest and stuff than the 3 that I have now. They're more. They've got a deep chest to them, good leg on them, can run all day long, which I like, but I hope it don't take them all day to catch it. But if it does, then they've got the tools to do it. So, talk to us a little bit about the running dog and what you guys are looking for and All right, so you talked about the trailing ability. What else is it in there that you guys are looking for with those style of hounds?
One thing I look at a lot is their feet. I like them to have a real nice tight foot that can hold up, because like I said, they'll run. I mean, it's not. There's days they run 30 or 40 miles, and that's no joke on the Garmin.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to have some tough feet. You said about that one dog having deep chest, and I love that. Like I said, my best dog, what she has is the deepest chest, and she just has a gas tank that can last all day long. And that's what I like them to have, a huge gas tank that they just don't seem to tire, and I like them to be able to do it day in, day out. But yeah, they definitely, feet's one of the biggest things. Nose, we talked about that. About everything like that. That's really about it. I'm not too big on how they look. I like a good looking dog, don't get me wrong, but as long as they got the nose and good feet and they bark good and, cold trail and all that stuff, I'm fine with that. I don't even care. I don't even care if they fight, as long as they'll hold one. If they do bay one, I'm fine with that. I don't even care if they fight. That's what I look for. Yeah.
So you said something there that kind of caught my attention. You said you didn't care if they fight, which is fine. Are your guys' dogs tight on the ground? Because two of mine are. One of mine is not. The other two are.
No, they're pretty open. I mean, about half of mine bark pretty well cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're jumping really well, and then the other half they're silent to jump. And I don't really have a preference on that. I mean, sometimes I really like listening to a good cold trail, and then other times it just doesn't bother me a whole lot. But yeah, they all bark pretty exceptional. I don't really like. I had a couple not silent, but when they would get in the front, they would tighten up. Say if they took the chase over, or they go out of a check, silent, and I just don't. I don't care for that. I like them to be. If they get the check, I like them to be barking. If they're up front, I like them to be barking. I like them to.
Mm-hmm.
If they're moving the track, I like them to be making noise. For sure.
Right. So is that common with the group that you hunt with? Are they all kind of across the board that way?
Yeah, for sure. We all like dogs that bark a lot. The older guy with Butch, if they can't bark enough to him. I mean, they cannot bark enough, and they can bark too much for me. But I definitely like them to make a lot of. I like them to. If they're moving a track, I like them to be barking cold. I'm not. They don't have to bark cold. That's not a deal breaker for me. But when it's up, they better be tonguing pretty good.
Right. Yeah, and mine do. I mean, once they'll hit or miss on the track, on the cold track, but once it's getting ready to get jumped, you're going to know it. And once it's jumped, there's a pretty constant roar. It's not a whole lot of downtime in it. So, do you guys do any? I know they have competitions, like running competitions. Is that something you guys do, or is it just strictly the hunting side of it?
No, we've never gotten into that. I never went to them field trials or anything. I've always wanted to, but I just never have. There's some puppy trials and stuff I always wanted to go to, but I just never made the time to go do it. We do utilize those pens, for training getting the scent in the pups' nose. I mean, we do utilize them pens, but we've never gotten into the trials. No, never have.
So, do you have pens close to you that you can actually use? You just said you could utilize them.
No, they're not legal in Pennsylvania. We got to go out of state to get to them, and they're quite a long drive. And, but like it's worth the drive, to get your pups, going and everything like that. It makes it a little bit easier to get them rolling than on the outsiders. Around here, there's a lot more game in the woods than just coyotes. You got to worry about. So it's nice to get them rolling in a pen a little bit, but the pen can hurt them as easy as it can help them too. I mean, you get running them too much, it's not good for them. In my opinion, I don't think it's good for them to run them in a pen too much.
And so, what about fox? Because I know there's some fox pens down on the coast in Carolina and stuff. Do you have problems with foxes, or are your dogs just pretty much staying on the yotes?
We probably have. I'm going to say, like you're saying about trashing like 5 races a year. That's probably what we have, and it drives me nuts. And I try to correct them for it, but it's hard to. And it's there's definitely more fox than there is coyotes. I'm pretty sure they smell quite a bit more than a coyote, so that I get it, but it drives me nuts. I try keeping them off it, but there are fox everywhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
But try to correct them for it. I don't have much of a problem. More red fox than gray fox. I ever had one gray fox chase, and I corrected them on that. And the red fox is worse than anything for sure.
So give me a little bit of lesson in that. What is the difference? It's like for me, and I mean, because like I said, I don't know anything about your world other than I'd prefer mine not to be running them. So what is the difference in a coyote and a fox? Is it just you strictly want to run coyotes and the fox is not?
Yeah, I strictly want to run coyotes, and to me, trash is trash. Some guys don't care if they run fox, but I like it. And foxes, they're okay to chase, but they run a lot smaller. They're just not as fun to chase to me. So I just prefer coyotes, as most of the guys do around here. There are guys that don't mind; they'll run either. But I prefer just to stay on coyotes, and I don't want to be out, trying to stay on a coyote and it gets tough and a tough chase and they smell a hot fox track and get on that fox track. I don't want that to happen. That's the main thing. I don't want them to get off on a hot fox when the coyote chase is tough. So I just try my hardest to keep them off them things.
So you guys are like us. You prefer to stay. Do you have trouble with any other game, like deer and bobcat, bear, anything like that? Deer
is the biggest thing around here. We're just polluted with them.
Uh-huh.
And that's I try not casting my pups at all. I try to be very careful with them about the deer. I have one here. He never ran a deer. I don't know what it is. He'll be 3 in June, and he's never ran a deer. And I wish they were all like him, because the deer can just be so tough on us. Coons, they like a coon. I don't know what it is, but these coyote dogs can catch every coon on the ground that they see. I don't know what it is, but they catch so many on the ground. It drives me nuts.
Really?
The coons they catch. I don't know what it is. I've been coon hunting so many times and never catch one on the ground. And you take these coyote dogs out on a warm day, and they'll catch a raccoon so fast it's not even funny. I don't know what it is about these dogs.
The speed. They got that. They got that get up and go.
Must be, and I can tell you what, they can't fight a coon for crap. They suck at fighting one. I don't want them to do it, but I can see them. They are not good at it at all.
I mean, I've coon hunted for, well, I don't know. I can say for 28 years, but there's been a big lull in that when I was competition hunting. But man, we just, we didn't catch too many on the ground. You catch them up in a cornfield up in Indiana or Illinois or Michigan. You catch one in a cornfield every once in a while. But I mean, we just, in my hunting with my dogs, that just tells you they probably slow as Methuselah then, because I mean, I can probably count on one hand every one that I've ever seen caught on the ground.
Oh man, it's horrible here. I have a question for you. How your average bear chase before you tree? How long do you think it would be?
Well, I get that question a lot, and it depends. There are times that they go up fairly quick, and here's how I feel about that. If my dogs trail an old track and they're beating and beating and beating and beating, and they jump that bear, and if it's cold out and that bear's been laid up, usually they go up a tree just pretty much instantly. Mm-hmm. If that bear's been out moving, you have more of a race with it. And then we have some bear that just have their Nikes on. I mean, in my 28 years of hunting, I've run bear through 3 different counties. And I mean, that's, by the crow flies, you're looking at 10 miles by the crow. But if you go up, over one mountain into a valley, across another mountain into a valley, up and over another little mountain, down across the hardtop, up over another mountain, and crossing 2 or 3 more little hardtop roads. I mean, like you said, you're looking at 20 plus miles. So it depends. I mean, I can't answer that with a definitive answer because I mean, we've jumped them out of their beds and put them up. I mean, just bang. And, we've run them, 700-800 yards and treat them, and we've run them 20 miles and or not, usually if you're running 20 miles, you're not catching it. Like it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. It's got his Nikes on. He ain't coming back. But, and it's kind of like what you said. It's kind of funny how all this crosses over is if you've got a young juvenile bear that's looking for a home, he's looking for a home range, that bear may check out and be gone. And that's the bear you're going to run 17, 18 miles because it's not his home. He's just traveling through there.
Yeah. Reason I asked, we've only got on a few of them, and I don't know if it's because the bears don't get ran here in Pennsylvania, or it's because of the speed of these dogs, or a combination. But anytime we've ever jumped one, it doesn't last very long at all. And I always wondered that if it was because they just don't get ran here, so they don't know to run away, or if it's just the speed of our dogs or what. But they tree very fast. I've only seen it a few times with ours, but it happens fast. Sure.
Yeah, and I would attest that to they don't have any pressure. They're hound, you're just basically running up on them, and they're like, "Holy crap! I need to catch a tree." So they hang the first limb they can get to. So, so do your dogs actually tree on them? Do they tree like a tree up, or they just once they get there they're done?
It's only happened a few times. It's funny. It seems like I have white dogs with the July blood in them, and it seems like the white ones tree pretty good. Like I've had them stretch out on a coon too, and it seems like the other, like the tricolor dogs, they don't know to look up. But for sure, the white ones, they seem to know to look up, and I've had them stretch right out on a tree on a bear or a coon. I don't know what it is. I don't know. The white ones definitely are different for some reason. Not all of them, but a few of them definitely know. To stretch right out on the tree. I don't know how.
Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I would think, with my experience that, well, I don't have any experience with that, so I can't really attest to it. But it's kind of funny that your running dogs will tree. I mean, that kind of puts anything that anybody thinks that they're just running dogs, puts that to a side, doesn't it?
Like I said, not all of them, and I've seen other guys tree them too, and not all theirs, but I have seen a select few that they'll sit right at the bottom looking up, barking, or a couple of them will even stretch right out like a dang tree dog. I don't know what it is, and it's like I said, the ones that I have that do it are the white ones. I have no idea, but I try. Like I said, we haven't had that happen in a long time. I tried to take care of that problem. I'm knock on wood, I haven't had that issue in a long time with a bear. And the coons we've been pretty solid on too. But I tell you what, if somebody else's, one of my buddy's dogs or somebody I'm hunting with dog starts a coon, catches a coon or finds one, mine are definitely still will not turn it down. They haven't started one on their own in a long time, but they have a tough time turning them down. That's for sure.
Oh, they can't have a party without them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Right. They don't have a whole lot of self-control on the coons. The deer, mine that are broke, I will say they will not get dragged into deer. But man, if the dog has a coon, they are going to do it. It drives me nuts because I just correct them, and they still do it.
So how do you hunt? So I think we've probably skipped over that. How do you guys hunt for coyotes? Like for me, our early season, August, September, we do a lot of rigging. We've got plenty of roads and, food crops and creeks and stuff across the roads and stuff. So we do a lot of rigging. So that means we just, we drive around our truck. You know what it means. Drive around our truck. We have the dogs on top. They strike. We put them down, and that's our hunting. Now, towards the end of September, especially like this year, with the food crop got so good by September 20th, we had to get in the woods and hunt. The bear were laying down. They weren't moving. They had plenty of food. And then, of course, when we roll over into December, which is our harvest season, you've had 2 months of deer hunters. The bear are a lot more cautious. They're not coming across roads. So we free cast. We do a lot of free casting, just putting some miles on, like we just take off walking, hit an old logging road or hit a ridge top or, a path out the top of the mountain, and that's what we do. So how do you guys do that?
We depend a lot on the snow. That makes it pretty simple to find them most days. I mean, sometimes you have to drive for a couple hours, but it usually works pretty good. But this winter we have had near the snow that we usually have, so we've been depending a lot on locating them, getting them howling. Some guys have been running cameras. The cameras have helped. Most of us don't have any rigging dogs like you're talking about, but a friend of mine, he does have a couple that he'll ride them down the road in his pickup. He rides them all in the cab. He don't have a dog box, and they will rig for him. They'll start barking, and he'll let them out, and by golly, they'll go run a coyote. And I didn't believe him at first, but I've seen it with my own eyes, and that was them. His dogs are the first running dogs that I ever seen do it. That'll park on a coyote track from the road. I'm talking on dry ground, not even on the snow, just riding down the road. But I don't have any that'll do that. Never really totally tried it, but I don't think I have any that would do that. But snow is definitely number one. Locating them, getting them howling. Cameras have been a huge help this year with the no snow, and then we do cast. If we can't find out, we do cast in a lot of our good spots. That we get a lot of runs in. We do that. That's one thing that my dogs lack in is free casting power and ability. I have if you take them out of the dog box on the road and there's no track there, they just do not like getting in the woods and get going. And I can walk them in there, 400, 500, 800 yards, and they eventually will go hunting, get away from me. But they just don't have that hunt that free cast power that I'd like from the road, and that's one thing I really want to work on.
So, and there's a couple of things I want to touch on here, but I want to talk about your free casting. So, some of my buddies that have access to some of those pens, they take their pups, and I know you said that you didn't think that was a good thing, but they take their pups and put their pups in those pens for like a week or 2 weeks, and then that's about it. But they said that's how they get their dogs. Like, they'll just go hunting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that you could do, but I know that for me, like, I don't care if for me, when I'm free casting my dogs, I like them to stay within hearing distance. So for us, once they get past 300-400 yards, they're out of hearing for us most places. So I like my dogs to stay in that zone. So that's something I work on. I tone my dogs once they start ranging out too far to keep them back in that bubble. But I feel like how do you raise them? How do you do them when they're puppies? And like, are you just taking them out and putting them on tracks when they're crossing the road? Is that the whole process, or are you actually taking them for walks in the woods and seeing which dog does what? What is your process like?
Yeah, when they're young, I have a lot of that to my girlfriend Cassie. She walks the puppies every day. She'll take them on walks and get them crossing creeks and stuff like that. Watch them hunt, let them play, let them smell everything and stuff like that. And I go a little bit too, but like I said, I'm busy a lot, at that time of year. But she does that a ton. And then when we're running, even if they're too young to run, I still like taking them in the pickup, getting them acclimated to riding in the truck or in the box, stuff like that. And maybe that is what's wrong when they're young. I'm putting them on too many hot tracks. I'm not making them go hunt, but you're so worried that they're going to trash. Run a deer. You're so worried you hold them back till you're sure that they ain't gonna trash. And I don't know if that's what it is. I tone break all my dogs. I'm not sure if they handle too good. I'm not sure what it is. But now if I stick them with a dog that'll hunt, like one that will cast, they'll go just fine. If they have a dog drag them in, they'll get in there and hunt like no other. They're fine. But just getting them off the road and getting them away from you is just a headache, and it drives me nuts. And I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, or it's just how they're bred. I'm not sure. But I'd love it. If somebody knows or has a good tactic, I'd love to hear it, because it's driving me nuts.
Well, you said that your buddy's dogs that are same bloodline, now they'll go on hunting, right?
The one guy's, yes. His kind of have to hunt because he had a stroke 10 or 12 years ago. And so everybody that he goes with, a lot of guys, they don't want to walk dogs in the woods that ain't theirs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So his his dogs just kind of had to learn how to cast. And he said the same thing when he was younger and could walk. His dogs back then weren't near as good as hunting either, because he walked with them. You know, he walked them in there, got them rolling, you know, all that stuff. So he even said the same thing back when he could walk, that his dogs lacked that free cast ability too. So, like I said, I think he just kind of made his do it, and they just go hunting. His aren't all tone broken. I don't think they're kind of the style of dog that don't want caught. Like, they don't like being caught. So I don't know if that's part of it. They just don't care to be around you, you know. But that's about all I can figure out on his end. But my other buddy, he struggles with the same thing. He's been trying really hard. You know, he can get them to go hunting, you know, running them down trails, you know, logging roads and stuff like that. That's how he's been getting his to go hunting. But still, like, between me and him, we don't have a dog that'll just go hunting in the woods, you know, just stopping on the road, kicking them in the roads. We have to have a road or a trail or something like that. And
so, two things to me is if your dog is ranging out with another dog, that's a confidence issue. Not that your dog can't do it, because he can. He's doing it with the other dog, so he's got it in him to do it. So he's lacking the confidence to do it solo. And I can tell you from my experience with dogs, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings. You know, everybody there's people on different sides of the fence, and some that's on the middle of the fence. But, you know, I've seen it with my own dogs, is if you keep putting them out and putting them out and putting them out where they don't have to go look for it. It's right here. Like, okay, here's the track. Dad puts me on it. It's a good track. I can take it, and I'm out of here. Then dogs are lazy. They're going to cut every corner and shortcut every process they can, because that's just the way they are. They're going to do what's best for them, right? So a couple things there with what you're telling me in your dogs, and I think the next time I had a pup, I think I would try putting it in a pen for a couple days or a week, or however you guys. Well, you said you can't because don't have them there. Yeah, I would, you know, have your girlfriend spend a little bit more time with them in the woods, taking them on walks. And if they range out and they go to run and junk, don't fret over it. I mean, that's stuff that you can rein in. It's easier to back a dog down than it is to get him to go. If that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's true. You said about getting them out and putting them on a cold track, putting them on a good track. Even harking them in. I mean, a lot of my dogs, you get them out of the box, the first thing they do is pick their head up and listen. You know, they're listening for a dog barking, you know. Because
you're packing a lot.
Yeah, and if there ain't a dog barking, then they get out and they're smelling they're smelling up and down the ditch, you know. So you're right. I mean, I have thought of that before, that I'm just, you know, constantly putting them on tracks, constantly putting them in a chase, you know, all the time. And it is our fault. I've thought of that, but I just, even starting out, I've tried. I just don't know how to get them to. I thought, I said, these next pups, I'm just going to take them down a, dirt road that ain't busy at all. I'm going to let them out of the truck with the collars on. And I'm just going to sit in the pickup. I'm just going to sit in the pickup. They're going to get bored eventually, and they're going to leave.
Yep.
And I'm just going to try that and just sit in the pickup until they leave me. If I got to sit there all night, that's what I'll do. So.
Yeah. No, I think that would be a good start. Like I said, don't fret over. Like, I don't want my dogs running junk either. Let's just make sure we're clear on that. I don't. But if my 6-month-old pup picks his head up and takes off on a deer, I'm going to stop him. I'm not going to electrocute him by no means. I'm going to cut him off at the next road or the next trail or whatever, and I'm going to work on that. But I got to put him on the right game. And something else there on yours. You said your dog will cold trail, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Yep. All of ours will. If they don't, then we don't.
But you're finding the track for them.
Yeah, that or getting them in the woods and getting them. Like I said, in the woods far enough, they will leave you and go hunting eventually. And but yeah, they all will cold trail. Yes.
Yeah. So spend a little more time. Like, give your dogs a little bit more. And I mean, one of my good friends, Wes, and he's been on here a time or two. He's got one of our pups. You know, he was worried about that too. You know, he was holding these dogs and worried about this. And I'm like, just turn them loose. They can't learn nothing in your truck. They can't learn nothing on that lead. And if they go out here and run a deer, we fix it. No problem. We got it. We'll fix it. But you got to give them that opportunity to explore and to learn and to develop. And maybe that's a little bit of the holdback there. But I think you're on the right track for sure.
One thing my friend taught me, you know, a lot of guys, when their pup runs a deer or dog runs a deer, they just get so upset. It's the end of the day, you know, pack up your toys and go home. And he taught me, and I'm a firm believer, you know, when that pup runs a deer or runs whatever, the best thing you can do is get that thing on a coyote or whatever you're running, bear, whatever you want it to run that same day. That's the best thing you can do for that dog is get it off the trash and
put it on what you want it to do. That's right.
Yeah, that same day. Don't wait till the next day. Don't put it up for the rest of the day because you're worried it's going to do wrong. Just get it on the coyote that same day. And that's just the best thing you can do for that pup. And
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in that, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly right. And one other thing I want to hit on real quick before we have to wrap this up. You was talking about rig and coyotes. So my spook dog, which is, you know, 3/4 run and 1/4 tree and walker, when he's on the rig, he'll rig a coyote every once in a while. And the difference so last year it was September, late September, and we went down over the hill and my buddy's truck blew up and then my other buddy's truck blew up and then I come along. Well, my dogs didn't say anything except Spook, and Spook barked one time. And I'm like, it's a coyote. And they're like, well, how do you know that? Spook he has this anger in his bark when it's a coyote. And I can hear it, but I mean, he has this, like, he's mad. Like, he's mad. It's like you punched him in the face and he's like, roar. I mean, just a roar when he barks on the yote.
Is he for sale?
No. But so this year, my buddy was in from Indiana, Bryce, and we were rigging around the mountain. This is in December. Same thing happens. We're going out the top of the mountain. Spook gives that big loud roar. And he jumps out of the truck, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to turn the dog. And I'm like, no, we're good. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's a coyote. He's like, how do you know it's a coyote? And I said, the bark. Like, the bark tells it all. But yes, my dogs will rig a coyote too, and I've never asked them to do it, never wanted them to do that. So I feel you. You need what I got, and I don't need what I have.
Yeah. It's strange, you know. It's crazy the things you see.
Yep. So Brett, to wrap this up, is there anything else anything you'd like to add, take away, anything you want to leave us with on the coyote? Like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to educate me, and this is something I'm probably going to try to dive into a little more because I want to know. Like, I want to learn your world.
Mm-hmm. No, we covered quite a lot of it. Someday I wouldn't mind, you know, talking about puppies and stuff. You know, that's a lot of fun. That never would make it worthwhile to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, getting started and how they act, what they do, I think we covered, you know, a good chunk of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, some of the stuff that you were talking about, like, you know, when we have dogs coming to the road and we're not seeing the bear and the dogs are turning, like, I know, like, it's not a bear. Like, you know, I've run bear too many times in those areas, and those, you know, we can pretty much tell where the bear's going to cross. You know, they use the same paths, whether it's a bear you caught this year or the bear you catch 10 years from now. They say they use the same highways, right?
Coyotes are the same way. You can kill every coyote you run in the same block in the same spot. I don't know what it is. They cross in the same spot every year. And I'm not talking the same coyote that you don't get the first 5 times. I'm saying different coyotes. They'll run the same every time. I'm not sure what it is. That interests me too.
Yeah. So, Well, like I said, I appreciate you bringing us into your world. Like I said, this is new for me. I did pick up some tidbits and learn some things because I see what my dogs are doing when they're not running a bear or I'm not seeing the bear, and some of that behavior you explained very well. So I appreciate your time, and we end every podcast the same way. Brett, thank you for teaching us about the coyote world.
Yes, and appreciate you having me on. I love the podcast. Listen to all of it. It's a pleasure and blessing to be able to be part of it, for sure.
We appreciate it. The Journey on Houndsman XP has teamed up with One TDC. This dual action support for oral health and mobility in our dogs. This unique supplement is so effective that it is recommended by top veterinarian experts worldwide to maintain and improve our dog's health in 4 different areas: their oral health, hips, joints, and muscles, skin, coat, energy, and recovery. Guys, I've been using this product for the last 6 months, and it has been a game changer for me. If you're looking for something to help with the overall health of your dog, go to worksowell.com and give this product a try. It is highly recommended by Houndsman XP here on The Journey.